She hadn't done a town hall in 6 years. 6
6
years.
years.
She has not done town hall. I mean, she was just on Easter recess. 2 weeks. She did not do one public event. She knows that whatever county she goes to, there's going to be somebody that shows up and they're going to ask her, "Ma'am, what have you done for me?" And she knows she can't answer that. I'm a prosecutor. I've tried 35 jury trials. I've only lost one. It ain't bragging if it's true. Muhammad Ali said that. I know how to prosecute a case. And with her, boy, I got a heck of a case to prosecute because you got nothing you can run on.
Welcome to At Our Table. You know, folks love to write off the South. They love to say what can't happen or who can't win, what change isn't possible. But I've seen something else. I've seen people who come from places with deep history, deep struggle, and still choose to fight for it. Today's guest is one of those people, a prosecutor, a reformer, a history maker. At 32 years old, he defeated a 30-year incumbent to become the first Black district attorney elected in a majority white district in Mississippi history. And now he's taking on the United States Senate against the very person who blocked his path to the federal bench. That's not just politics, that's purpose. So today, we're going to talk about Mississippi, where it is, where it can go, and what it takes to believe in a place enough to fight for it. Scott Colom, welcome to At Our Table.
Thank you so much for having me, Jaime. It's an honor, and I'm looking forward to it so much.
Yeah, man. Listen, you and I both come from the South, sons of the South, and we both know what it means to run as a Democrat where folks say you can't win. So tell folks about how you grew up. We want to hear a little bit about your background, where this fight came from. You grew up in Columbus, Mississippi. Tell us about Columbus and the family that raised you.
Well, I'm honored to be a seventh generation Mississippian, born and raised in Columbus, and I get public service from my mother, first of all. She was elected the first African-American Chancery Court judge in my area of the state. She lost twice, and she won on the third time because she has a never quit mentality. And I remember working on her campaign, writing notes to voters, knocking on doors, and just seeing the difference she made in our community, seeing how much public service meant to the community. And so when I graduated from law school, I was blessed to do very well in law school. I went to University of Wisconsin. Shout out to the Badgers. And, I decided to move home and give back to Mississippi, give back to the state that I thought could use my talents the most. And I'll tell you, Jaime, Mississippi has been very good to me. It's been very good to my family. I've got appointments that people thought there was no way I could get. And I won an election, 2015, like you said, Jaime. I ran against a 30-year incumbent, a district they said I could never win it. And I was running on criminal justice reform. I was openly saying that we needed to prioritize violent crime, but we needed to be smart on nonviolent crime, make sure we help young people who make a first-time nonviolent mistake get back on track and not have the scars of prison and a felony. And the community got behind me, and we were able to win that election. And I'm proud of my record as district attorney. I've kept my commitment to be tough on violent crime, got a 94% conviction rate. But I'm just as proud that I kept my commitment to be fair to young people. I put more people in a pretrial diversion program in 1 year than my predecessor put in 8 years combined. Thousands of young people have gotten a chance to get their life back on track because I believe in second chances for people that deserve it.
Yeah. So your mom was a judge. Your dad was a civil rights attorney.
And a Republican. For a long time, he was a Republican.
Well, there were a lot of Black folks, of a certain generation who were Republican because in the South, it was a very different Democratic Party than the one that you and I have been a part of. But in the South, for a long time, Black folks couldn't beat Democrats. It wasn't until the 50s and the 60s and we started to see that sea change in terms of what each party represented and who they represented. But there were a lot of folks who were Republican for a long time. Tell us a little more about you growing up in a household with a mom who's a judge and a dad who's a civil rights attorney. Was their influence what made you wanna go to law school, that made you
Not
wanna become a district attorney?
Not at all. I thought I was gonna be the next Michael Jordan. Like, I thought that was a unique thing. It turns out a lot of people wanted to be the next Michael Jordan, and I was nowhere near talented enough to do it. And so I went to a small liberal arts college called Millsaps because it was the only school that would let me play basketball. So it's a
Oh,
Division III school. I went to play basketball. I thought maybe I was gonna be a basketball coach. And my parents' influence on me was profound in the sense that they showed me how to be a leader, but they always let me chart my own path. And so when I was in college, I took a history class and decided that, you know, Mississippi's history is so profound to our country. And that's
yeah.
one thing I think oftentimes we forget about places like Mississippi and South Carolina and act like that's not going to have an impact on the country. But if you read history, whenever the country has done well, it's remembered places like Mississippi, it's remembered the South, it's understood the importance of, fighting for justice and equality in the South. And whenever the country hasn't done well, it's ignored the South and pretended like those problems weren't going to eventually impact the country. And so, as a student of history, I decided I wanted to be a part of the tradition of fighting to make Mississippi better. And so I just prepared myself to get in that fight. Yeah, I mean, part of it was, Jamie, I was born on second base. I had a lot of opportunity growing up. And so for me, public service was what drew purpose in my life. And I've been just committed to that ever since.
Yeah, and even before you went to law school, this urge or this need to engage in the public and help, right, is
Yeah.
something that you've always had. But because before law school, you taught in Guyana, and then later on, you worked with the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. How did those experiences shape how you think about justice and humanity back home in Mississippi?
Well, I have to tell you a funny story, Jamie. So when I signed up to go to Guyana, I actually thought it was Ghana in Africa. Because, I was young. And so I signed up, I agreed to do it, and I found out that Guyana is the only English speaking country in South America.
Yep.
At the time it was the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, but they found oil now, so they've gone up. So when I was there, it was, there was very limited electricity, limited running water. And it was, I remember the first day I showed up to teach, the headmaster, that's what they called the principal there. The headmaster told me, "Congratulations, my friend, you are the chair of the English department." And I'm like 19 years old. I'm like, I'm the chair of the English department. And I said, well, kind of give me a sense of how you made that decision, because you're our only English teacher.
Oh, wow.
So I had to teach from kindergarten to sixth grade, which is totally different levels of type of teaching. And so the first thing I can tell you from that experience is I really understood how important teachers are, how tough that job is.
Yeah.
And that's why part of my platform is no income tax for teachers, because we really have to honor that profession. And so I'm a big supporter of public schools and teachers. And the second thing I would say is, when you don't have electricity most of the time, what you're forced to do is talk to people and
Yeah.
have long conversations and listen. And that's a value I learned in Guyana. And it brought me, and it's a value that I'm bringing to the campaign, because for me, over the last 7 months, when you announce that you're running for the United States Senate in Mississippi, naturally, a lot of people are skeptical.
Yep.
And I kept telling people, listen, Mississippi is not a deep red state. I mean, if you look at last election for governor, Brandon Presley got within 3 points, 27,000 votes of winning, right? Very competitive election. Last year, we broke the supermajority in the state Senate without a lot of attention, without a lot of resources. We had great candidates who ran on great messages, but there was still skepticism. And so I said, well, listen, what I want to do is I'm going to go out and campaign, because I'm going to put my trust in the voters. I'm going to go out, listen. I'm going to go ask them questions. And because I've got that value where I'll go talk to anybody, I understand that we need to center the voters. So I asked voters what mattered to them, and and so what they did in response to that is in the Democratic primary we had on March 10th, we on the Democratic side increased turnout by 90%. We closed the gap with the Republican primary voters and the Democratic primary voters by 20 points. So it was only
Wow.
about 3-point difference. And that's with me not spending nearly as much money as the current junior senator did. And it's because the voters were ready for a new direction. They understood that we're trying to build a movement. We're not trying to win an election. We're trying to build a movement. And they have to be the center of that. And so because of those listening skills that I learned in Guyana, that's creating the momentum we need to win in Mississippi. And when people tell me it's a deep red state, I say, well, listen, look at the independent poll. It shows I'm within 3 points of winning. When voters get to know my values and why I'm running, I'm actually up 1 point. And that's because, we're running on the kitchen table issues that voters care about. Is when I talk to a farmer, they tell me the tariffs have been terrible for them. They've lost a customer that they've had that they know now that they're never going to get back. The prices at the grocery store are up because of the tariffs. The war in Iran's got gas up now, which is going to eventually cause groceries to go up. And I had a voter tell me, it was so funny, a conservative voter in rural Mississippi, he put it to me very frankly, I thought it was a really great way to put it. He said, with the tariffs, we got higher prices, we got chaos for business. What do we get for it? What's the upside? Manufacturing is down, unemployment's up, foreclosure are up. What are we getting for it? And I said, buddy, I don't know. You figure it out, tell me. And that's why we
Well,
get the momentum.
Well, Scott, I am so happy to hear that you're out there, man. When I was running for the U.S. Senate here in South Carolina, and, in many ways, South Carolina and Mississippi are very much alike. The biggest challenge that we had was COVID at the time. We didn't have the opportunity to go out across the state and just have those kitchen table conversations with everybody. And it doesn't matter, black, white, Democrat, Republicans, farmers or folks that are in your larger cities. And so it's so good to hear that you are just going out and listening to people about some of the challenges and the things that they're facing right now, because that's a really, really important thing. And I can guarantee you, knowing your opponent, Cindy Hyde-Smith, she probably has not. I wonder, has she even had a town hall recently
She
in
hadn't done a
Mississippi?
town hall in 6 years. 6
6
years.
years.
She has not done a town hall. I mean, she was just on Easter recess. And for 2 weeks, she did not do one public event. Not one opportunity. And what's so funny about it, Jaime, it's like, listen, you could pick the reddest county in the state, right? You can just pick a red
Yep.
county and you say, listen, I'm gonna do a town hall there. And, and you can expect like most of the voters show up probably are more likely to agree with me. She won't even do that because she knows that whatever county she goes to, there's gonna be somebody that shows up and they're gonna ask her, ma'am, what have you done for me? And she knows she
Uh-huh.
can't answer that. She's done nothing. She's betrayed us on tariffs. She's betrayed us at the grocery store and at the gas pump. And she's violated the number one rule of politics. You have to deliver from your vote for your voters. I mean, Mississippi, we have a tradition. Maybe you don't agree with Thad Cochran on a bunch of issues. Maybe you don't agree with Trent Lott on issues, but you understood they were not only showing up, but they were delivering for the state. They were
Oh,
bringing
yeah.
resources, money, jobs. Man, she doesn't do anything. She doesn't deliver anything for the voters. I mean, Senator Roger Wicker voted for the infrastructure bill, not because he particularly wanted to help whoever was president at the time. It was because we need infrastructure.
Yes.
And we need the federal resources to improve our roads and bridges. She voted against it, even though she knew we needed that.
Oh, and she probably not only voted against it, but I'm sure as hell, I bet she's trying to take credit for some of the projects that Mississippi's building right now that was funded by that infrastructure bill.
She was until I started calling her out. I mean, I started doing TikToks and videos saying, "Now hold on, you voted against that," and
Yeah.
so it's interesting. Senator Wicker just announced $20 million for rural airports in Mississippi. And it was from the infrastructure bill. And I was waiting for her to take credit. I was like, and she didn't, because she knew that she's got somebody that's gonna call her out. And it's a perfect example of what happens when you get disconnected from voters. And that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
opportunity we have in Mississippi. I've watched your podcast several times and I've read some of your Substack. I know that you regret the circumstances of COVID impacting your ability to go out there
yeah,
and,
yep,
and build the trust you need to win a tough election. Because, you know, I'm definitely I'm going to raise enough money to run TV ads because you do have to do paid media. But I also know you have to complement that with touching people and building
you
trust
have
from
to.
people that, there's a lot of people out there, you can never get them with a TV ad. You're going to have to show up at their housing projects, listen to them, make sure you understand it. Make sure they understand you care about their life. You want to make their life better. You're going to have to go to the plant and shift change some of the stuff that we used to do in politics and
Yeah,
figure out and listen to people and go to the voters because that's who you can get in Mississippi is the people that are not ideological, the ones that are just working their butt off for a living. They care about somebody that's going to make their life better, that's going to fight for lower costs and higher wages, the economic issues that unite Mississippians. And that's what I'm focused on. That's who I'm going to touch. And that's how we're going to win is we're going to go to the voters and we're going to use all the resources that are in the campaign toolkit, but we're also going to make sure we're out there campaigning.
that's great to hear. One of the things, Scott, I was gonna let you know, man, when I was running for the Senate, one of the things right before COVID hit, one of the things that we did, we had this program that was running simultaneously with our campaign. It was called Harrison Helps. And it was my almost a community service initiative that was built inside of our campaign. So, man, we did things. We were out in the community. Ronald McDonald houses. I and volunteers would go and make meals for families whose kids were at children's hospitals. We did back to school supplies drives. We partnered with the Boys and Girls Club and helped to donate backpacks filled with school supplies for families and kids. Because I remember how hard it was for my family to get school supplies sometimes. We did resume building workshops for young people. And one of the things I would suggest, particularly since you're running against a senator that just doesn't do a damn thing, get out in those communities and do those type of service projects, and not even just communities that that you're probably going to get the vote, but go into those communities that she's neglecting, she's
Yeah,
counting on to give her votes, but neglecting, and let those people see you and see how you are going to deliver for them as a senator. You're not in the Senate yet, but if you
yeah,
can help those people now, man, that is nothing but gold in terms of how you start to move those numbers and rebuild trust and change the brand of the Democratic Party, right?
yeah.
It's hard to demonize somebody when they're helping you. And I think in places like the ones that you and I live in and have grown up in, that's really powerful and is really important.
I think you're absolutely right. Uh, Jamie, when I ask voters what matter to them, right? First of all, I mean, I've asked at this point thousands of people because everywhere I go, I ask voters, what matters to you? What matters to you? First of all, they're usually shocked to even get that question. I mean, which
Yeah.
tells me something about our politics is that we're not even voters are surprised to be even asked what they care about. And when they do eventually get to the answer, you know what the number one answer is?
What?
Somebody who does what they say they're going to do. So
Mm,
that's what you're describing, that program that you use, that was effective because the voters don't trust the politicians, you know, and
yeah.
we have to gain trust to win the election we need to win. We have to figure out the way to build trust. And when we get in these positions, we have to deliver because voters are very frustrated, and as I've been campaigning over the last 7 months, I'm very hesitant to whenever people try to convince me that it's all about the type of profile of the candidate, right? If you're this type of candidate, you're going to win. If you got this type of background, and I'm like, as someone who talks to a lot of voters, I think they care more about themselves.
Yes.
They don't really care that much about us. They want to feel like they can trust us, and so we gotta focus on the voters in this moment. We gotta focus on them. We have to center the voters, and if we do that, I really think this is going to be a big year for the people that want to be on the right side of history, people that want to fight for you know quality schools for every Mississippian, quality jobs for every Mississippian, quality health care, because this is a moment where, you know, the people in power are betraying the voters. And they don't even have the courage to explain why. Cindy Hyde-Smith doesn't even have the courage to explain why she's betraying them. She can't even go to the farmers. That's her base. She won't do anything to help these people. So we have to take advantage of that, but we got to gain trust to do it.
Scott, when you think about Mississippi, not just the politics, but the people, what's your vision for where the state could be in 10 years if you got the opportunity to go to the U.S. Senate?
Man, that's a great question, because Mississippi really could be a perfect example of how the country can prosper. And people working together, because on a local level, we see it all the time, and we're a diverse state. I mean, you have to work together in local communities for the cities to do well, for the communities to do well. And we have a lot more in common than we do that divides us. And what I tell people is, listen, I got two young daughters, 6 and 9, or 6 and 8, Lucy and Maddie. I'm dropping them off at public schools. I'm going to their soccer games, their baseball games. I'm going grocery shopping with my wife. I have a lot more in common with the average Mississippian than Cindy Hyde-Smith.
Yeah.
She's totally disconnected from the average Mississippian. But it's only recognizing what we have in common that we can reach our potential. But if we can do it in Mississippi, we can be the example for the country. That's on just the how we change the perception of our state. On the economic front, what we have to do is I call it democratize capital. We've got to bring capital back to these rural areas. So much of Mississippi, the loans aren't there, the businesses aren't there, we're not growing, people can't get jobs. So the young people are leaving. As a senator, part of what I want to do is figure out ways to incentivize capital to get in these communities so people can get jobs, so they can grow their community, so they can have positive outcomes. And so, that's one of the things that I want to accomplish is I want to get capital in Mississippi. Because, let's face it, Jaime, you know this. These states, Mississippi got 2 United States senators, and we got close to 3 million people. California got 50 million people, and they got 2 United States senators. The Constitution gives us extra influence in the Senate, and we have to take advantage of that in a way that delivers for all Mississippians. And that's the biggest betrayal of Cindy Hyde-Smith. She's in a position where she could really help a lot of people, and she's not doing it.
So I'm going to combine two things that I know you hear all the time. So there are folks who say a Democrat can't win statewide in Mississippi. And there are voters sitting at their kitchen tables who just want to know who's going to deliver for them, as you have mentioned. So what's your message to both of those groups? Those who say that you can't win statewide in Mississippi as a Democrat, and for those voters who are just, sort of, I'm tired of Democrats, I'm tired of Republicans, I just want somebody to fight for me and deliver for me. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, for the people that say a Democrat can't win Mississippi, I would say, don't give yourself too much credit because you really haven't been trying. I've been living in Mississippi 15 years. There's a lot of candidates we had who just were not able to raise enough money to get their message out, to build the campaign they needed. And whenever we've had candidates able to raise enough money, they've been really close. You look at Mike Espy 2018, 5 points.
Yeah. When Mike ran in 2020, it was also a closer election.
Yeah. Then you look at 2019, Jim Hood for governor got within 4 points. Brandon Perry within 3 points. When people are able to raise even marginal amounts of money, you're going to be close in Mississippi. That's the first thing I would say to them. Don't give yourself too much credit. You haven't been trying. But you got to convince people. You got to inspire them. And that's what I'm trying to do, is to get them to understand that Mississippi matters. And, so goes Mississippi, so goes the country. For the working class voter that's, frustrated with both parties, feels like neither party's making their life better, what I would say to them is, I understand where you're coming from. And it's because we have to do the opposite of what we've been trying to convince people the last couple of years. We're making it too much about trying to find a perfect candidate. We got to find, even when people talk about 2028, who's running for president, they're talking a lot about the people. We want a fighter. We want somebody. Listen, We want somebody that can communicate to voters. We still want somebody who can build trust, someone who can find the commonality between Mississippians and Americans, and get to the root cause of the problem, which is the middle class is not growing. It's not growing like it should. Income inequality is a huge issue. We have to figure
Mhm.
out how to, get places in rural America growing again. I mean, too much. I think something that Democrats don't talk enough about is too much of the capital is on the coast. We've got to get some of the capital back in rural America, back in the Midwest, and get those places growing, get those places prosperous. And that's how we're going to be able to show the country that we care about not just the coastal parts, but the whole country. We have to be a party that cares about every voter and doesn't write voters off.
That's the important part. People need to feel as though that you really care about them. That I often say that they wanna be seen, they wanna be heard, but most importantly, they wanna be valued. And so it's not just your words, but it is also your actions, and that's a really important component, and it's great to hear that that's a part of your formula for how you're gonna do something that people say you can't do. Because I really do believe, Scott, that you are poised to have one of the biggest people would say it'd be an upset, but one of the biggest upset victories this November, and to do it in Mississippi. Give us your thought. You're an attorney. We see the Supreme Court just recently gutting the Voting Rights Act. What are people on the ground saying to you about the actions that the Supreme Court just took? And what are the things that people in Mississippi are doing to mobilize against that?
Well, I'll tell you, the best way I think to frame it for voters and gets them excited and motivated to do something about it is, why are these people doing this, right? Why are these leaders all of a sudden trying to redraw the lines to get power? Well, it's because they don't want the voters to pick them anymore. They want to pick their
Mhm.
voters.
Yeah.
Because if they get to pick their voters, they don't have to answer for the fact that, the farmer in the Delta can't sell soybeans, that the woman who's got a kidney transplant surviving Harrisburg can't afford health insurance. They don't have to answer for that. They want to pick their voters. And the bad news for them, and I truly believe this, is that the voters are waking up to it. They're waking up to it. It's inspiring and motivating them. They understand the stakes now. And what I believe is going to happen, that's what I've been telling every Mississippian. This is a moment where we get to write the chapter for our state. Every generation of Mississippians get to write their chapter, right? This is our moment. Are we going to write a chapter that's about focusing on making sure we have leaders that value every person, make sure they want every voter to have a voice that's just and fair? Do we want leaders that are concerned about making sure everybody has a quality education, quality health care, jobs that, do we want that? Do we want our chapter to be about a future that's better than our past? If that's what we want, then this is a moment, this is an opportunity. We can show the country what I truly believe are the values of Mississippians, that we love each other, that we can come together, that we can write a chapter that everybody can be proud of. And so when I win, because I truly believe I'm going to win, it's not going to be shocking to me. It's going to be shocking to other people probably, but not for me. And it won't be about what I did. It'll be about the family that when I went to Tunica County on Saturday night, who said, "Scott, don't get a hotel. I want you to stay with me. I want you to
Mhm.
save money." It's going to be about the people after the church service that said, where can I go to volunteer for your campaign? Where can I donate? It's going to be the people of Mississippi that understand the stakes of the moment, that understand that we have to write a chapter that our ancestors can be proud of. And this is our moment to do it. And I'm going to put my faith in Mississippians every day and twice on Sunday.
So Scott, now some people may not know this, but you were nominated for a federal judgeship. It would have been a lifetime appointment, but it was Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith who blocked it by refusing to return in her blue slip in the U.S. Senate, and now you're running against her. Do you think she regrets that decision?
She's going to really regret it on November 4th. She's going to really regret it. What's interesting is there was recently a New York Times article about the campaign, and they sort of centered that part of it. I often don't talk about it, the fact that I
Yeah,
was blocked from a nomination, because I'm trying to center the voters. I'm not trying to center me. I mean, I forgive
yeah,
her. I really do. I mean, it was shocking to me that she was saying that I was running to get revenge. Like, that's not, I mean, as a Christian, I forgive her. As a district attorney, I've had people who've lost their daughter to gun violence at a Sweet 16 party. And I've had to navigate the criminal justice system with her, get justice for her and see that person and forgive the person that killed her daughter. How could I not forgive somebody for stopping me from being a judge? I mean, it's
yeah,
easy. So it's not a motivation for me at all. And I'm actually having fun. That's what really
yeah.
bothers her, is I'm having fun. I love campaigning. I love talking to voters. I love what Mississippians are showing me. They just really, it's so powerful because they are doing it. They are doing it. People are asking me, like, how are you doing it? It's not me. It's the voters. They are building a movement, and it's going to crescendo at the perfect moment, November 3rd. And we're going to show the country we got something special down here.
Do you think she's gonna agree to a debate with you?
If she does, then we know we won. Because she does not want to debate. Listen, she won't do an interview with Fox News. She won't,
Wow.
she does not do any media. She does not talk to, she doesn't do very much at all. And, I'm a prosecutor.
Yeah.
I've tried 35 jury trials. I've only lost one. It ain't bragging if it's true. Muhammad Ali said that. Um, I know how to prosecute a case. I know how to prosecute a case. And with her, boy, I got a heck of a case to prosecute because you got nothing you can run on. And I got a bunch of stuff I can point out. And I'll put my record against her record any day of the week. I'll put my vision for the state against her vision for the state any day of the week. And so when she agrees to a debate, she's in trouble.
Well, I hope she does agree to that debate because that is going to be one of the ones that I will definitely have a whole big bag of popcorn to watch. What do you think people still get wrong about Mississippi, and what are they about to learn about Mississippi in this election?
Well, they're about to learn that there's a lot of rural Democrats, rural independent leaning Democrats that we've been ignoring and have
Hmm.
written off. And thankfully, building a movement has excited them. And that's why they showed out for the campaign, the primary, where increased turnout. They're also about to learn that, to win tough elections in some of these states, you have to run a different type campaign. You had to, one of the things Congressman Thompson, I tell people this and they don't believe it. Congressman Thompson, been a long time Democratic congressman in Mississippi. Jaime, he's never run one TV ad, not one TV ad.
Yeah.
And, he would always tell me, I don't need to. I'm talking to the voters. The voters trust me. And so in a place like Mississippi, you got to run a campaign that, uses paid media, but also uses the touch and the feel and the showing them, like you said earlier, that you're going to deliver and doing what you can to be a part of serving people, because that's what you're going to need
Yeah.
to do to build trust. They're going to learn that. And then, they're gonna realize that Mississippi matters, right? Mississippi matters. And hopefully what we'll have is people like Sidney Hyde-Smith will learn there's a consequence for voting against your voters and ignoring your voters. There's a
Yep.
consequence to that, because we can't have that type of leadership in Mississippi for us to be successful. And it's definitely the type of leadership that doesn't work for the country either.
Well, I really hope that one, national Democrats will support you in a way that you need in order to compete at the level that you need to compete, because that's really, really important. The building that infrastructure long term. I've often said this, Scott, the future of the Democratic Party is in the South, and it's in candidates like you. That's really important that we have to invest in, and we have to invest in the party infrastructure there as well. So there's not just one campaign, but how do you have good candidates run consistently and be able to compete and ultimately win? But that's building a long-term infrastructure for the party, and I hope you're seeing some commitment from national Dems. If not, let me know because I'll shout people out to make sure that you can get the resources that are necessary to win.
Well, thank you so much, Jaime, man. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be on your platform, to share my story, share why Mississippi matters. And it's people like you that make a difference, man. I mean, thank you for caring about Mississippi. Thank you for what you're doing. And, anybody out there that believes in, Mississippi, believes in a campaign that's rooted in centering the voters, go to scottcolom.com and join the movement.
But Scott, before we go, we got to do something. On this
Yeah, I
podcast,
know.
we have a
I'm ready.
tradition.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I got my person.
So we do something here at the table called the "Sit Your Ass Down" award. And
Yeah.
Scott, this is your moment. So who is this person who you believe needs to sit their ass down right now?
Let me think. Cindy Hyde-Smith, sit your ass down. Start caring about every Mississippian. Start doing your job to make sure we can have a future. But you know what? Actually, it's too late. We're going in a new direction. In November, we're going in a new direction. So, sit your ass down.
Yeah, we're going to give Cindy a permanent chair so that she can sit down right there in Mississippi. She don't need to go to D.C. anymore. She don't need to sit on that plane or anything else. She can have a nice little seat right there in Mississippi, or she can go to Florida. She could go down to Mar-a-Lago or something like that. But she does need to sit her ass down. It's been a long time coming, Scott. So I'm glad to see you issuing that open invitation to Cindy because she definitely deserves it.
I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you.
Well, Scott, thank you so much again for being at our table, and being with you, man, is a reminder that change doesn't come from the sidelines; it comes from people willing to step into the arena. And so I'm so happy and proud that you have stepped in the arena, and just know I'm going to do everything I can, buddy, to support you as you make history in Mississippi this November.
Appreciate it, my friend. Cheers. God bless y'all.
Thank you, brother. Thank
you, man.
If you enjoyed today's show, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pixel Plus, or anywhere you find your podcasts. For bonus content and analysis, join our community on Substack at jamieharrison.substack.com. At Our Table with Jaime Harrison is a production of Vision Blue Media. Our founding executive producers are Jason Hyder and Jaime Harrison. Our producer is Kyle Kelly. Our content consultants are Ernie Grigg and Clay Middleton. Our digital communications are led by Lauren Brown. Our social media strategist is Nia Asanta. Inez Malasky provides production legal. Title sequence by Tom Hunt. Our theme song, Blonde Gone, is written by Dewey and published by Alibi Music Library. Special thanks to Scott Colom and his team. I'm Jaime Harrison, and I look forward to another conversation at our table.